a setting that's never been seen before, at least not in this league. For the first time, the NFRN is hitting the dirt, and the truck drivers will be the guinea pigs. We'll see how it all plays out tonight in the Oswego 150 from Oswego Speedway up here in northern New York. Hello again, everybody. Colin Denton here for RVN. This is a brand new deal for the NFRN Truck Series. They are hitting the dirt, and they're going to take it for a spin to see who's going to come out on top and earn themselves a playoff run. This is going to test the driver's abilities. They're going to see who is the best on dirt, who is better off on pavement. That is all going to be determined here tonight as we determine our fifth driver to make it to the playoffs if it doesn't get taken away by one of those part-time drivers. We know they can be very fast, and they are also in full stock tonight as we have a big entry list heading into this race. We will see who qualifies first. Only 6 are going to make it, and the other 36 are going to be full-timers. Who is going to be the one that comes out victorious, though, at the end? We're keeping the racing up in the northeast, just 240 miles from our most recent race at Trenton Fairgrounds Raceway. We head to Oswego Speedway up in northern New York, 60 miles outside of Rochester and 230 miles away from New York City, a population of just over 18,000. Nicknamed the Port City, as it just lies off the coast of Lake Ontario. And the longtime Fort Ontario has been used as a safe haven for World War II Jewish refugees back in the 1930s and 40s. So the format for this race is going to be a little bit different than the previous races. Instead of having the part-timer races that we've had in the past, we're going to have 6 different heats that will determine who is going forward. So in those heats that we have 6 full-timers in the field as well as 10 part-timers. They're both combined, and the top part-timer from each race will be the one that moves on to the main event. 6 in total will make it, and then everyone else is going home. And this heat race will also determine the starting grid for today's race. In Heat 1, you'll pick spots 1, 7, 13. In Heat 2, you'll have 2, 8. You can keep going on from there. You can figure it out. But that is how we're going to set the starting grid for today's race. The feature race will consist of 45 laps. And just like the road courses, this particular race is going to not have cautions, as we are on a kind of a slower speed dirt surface. And we're hopefully going to see little incident, but we'll have to see what pans out here. So heading into Heat 1, we take a look at how the starting order pans out. Moses Osborne, the fastest truck in qualifying among all drivers. He'll start up front alongside the New York native Tyler Bate. Richard Morris to the inside of row 2, and Adam Kuhn, another New York native, in place number 4. Tyler Sage and Brandon Figueroa, both drivers looking to make it in on speed, in row number 3. 2 full-timers in row number 4, Essentia and Emerson Sims. Andrew Gorman in spot 9. He made last race at Trenton. Aiden Fife looking for his first start in place number 10. And a little bit further back in the field, Barry Watson makes up the start of row number 6 alongside Aiden Wilder. Jason Langley in place 13 alongside Gabe Finney. Kyle Langland and Blake Andrews bringing up the rear. The pace truck is off, and we are green here at Oswego for heat number 1. Moses Osborne taking advantage of having that inside line. It's a big disadvantage for those that are on the outside, including Bate and Adam Kuhn. Those 2 New York natives would have really liked to be on the inside. They'd get some better track position if they were able to do that. And now Bate's going to lose the cutoff position to Richard Morris, who gets on the inside as Bate continues to slide back. Tyler Sage now making a move to the inside of him. Now Richard Morris trying to challenge Moses Osborne for the lead. And remember, this race is going to determine who gets the pole for tonight's race, as the heats will also determine the intervals in which these guys start on. So this heat also determines who sits on the pole. And it could easily be one of these part-timers, as they're outweighing the full-timers in the field 10-6. And Morris is going to be able to clear the 85 as we hit lap number 4. Osborne's still just a bit to his outside, but now he's able to get around. We got a 3-wide situation here as Andrew Gorman making his way to the inside of Tyler Sage and trying to see if he can grab some spots as Moses Osborne continues to slide back. But as long as Osborne can stay in front of the rest of the full-timers, he'll still have a decent starting spot. Meanwhile, Andrew Gorman, who made the race at Trenton, finished mediocre, but I believe had a solid run going for him until pit stops. He's trying to contend for a second race in a row. He's going to have to catch the 51 of Richard Morris, who's been able to gap the field a little bit. As we see Adam Kuhn, who started in 4th place, fading back very quickly. If he goes back any further, he's going to be starting from the very depths of the field. This is one of his home tracks. Will also be going to Mayville later this season, in about 2 races' time, actually, so not too far away. That will be back in New York, but trying to see what he can do on the dirt. A very unique race, obviously, and they could be able to contend in front of the hometown crowd, but at the moment, fading back early, looking like he's losing qualifying ground. Barry Watson has passed up Moses Osborne, as has Jason Langley, so Watson now the second driver in this heat that would be able to go on and start pretty solidly, but now we see Langley trying to make the move to the inside of Watson. He's able to make the 38 go up a little bit further, opens the door for the 68, and you're talking about 6 spots on the grid for every race-eligible driver that you're able to pass up. That's every full-timer as well as the driver that is able to qualify in the part-time realm, but that's only going to be 1 per race. We also see Essentia back here. He kind of started a little bit further back. He had a great top 10 run at Trenton after the disappointment he had in his home country at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. Trying to see what he can do to make up some ground in the point standings, but he's having a little bit of a hard time in this heat race. Still running pretty far back, and he's going to start pretty far back as well. As Adam Kuhn, we can see, is one of the last drivers in the full-timers. But meanwhile, Richard Morris has led most of this race. Andrew Gorman has nothing on him. Not able to make a move coming down the front stretch. Richard Morris takes the checkered flag on heat number 1. And he will advance to the main feature. Jason Langley and Barry Watson, the next 2 drivers up, as they'll slot into their grid positions. So we see how the final results pan out. Obviously, Richard Morris gets his name in green because he is moving on to the feature event, and he's going to be sitting on the pole as a result of finishing first in this heat. Jason Langley will be next up, along with Barry Watson and Emerson Sims. Andrew Gorman not able to make another consecutive race. Gabe Finney also going to be on the outside, along with the rest of the part-timers in this heat. Essentia was able to pick up a spot on Moses Osborne, the pole sitter, coming into this heat, and then falling all the way back to the second to last driver to make it through. Adam Kuhn, the New York native, going to be starting from the 37th position. Going to be a difficult ride up to the front. He finished down there along with Tyler Bate, the other New York native in this heat, and he will not be able to qualify for this one. So now we move on to heat number 2 and look at their starting order. Justin Lisenby is going to be the one that leads them out alongside Jason Hars. Row number 2 has 2 part-timers that haven't made a race so far this season, Brett Graham and Justin Zeidel. Benny Seitzer is going to round out the top 5, and he's alongside Derek Kimmel, who made the race at Trenton but didn't finish well. In row number 4, 2 full-timers, Tyler Reed and Recency, and in row number 5, 2 newcomers, Dylan Farrell and Richard Raffi. In row number 6, we see Justin McConnell, who won the pole in the first race of the season, alongside Evelyn Yee, our 3rd female competitor in the NFRN. Jasper Rawls is next on the board alongside Isaac Nichols, who was able to make his first start at Trenton and got a top 10 on it. Justin Carr in row number 8 alongside Chris Stottlemyre. They will round out the field. The next 16 trucks pull off for turn number 4, and the green flag flies on heat number 2. Immediately, Justin Lisenby gets out in front of the 50 truck, trying to see if he can maintain the lead. Tries to give him a little bit of a block to make sure he doesn't get momentum, but the 32 truck of Brett Graham immediately to the inside, trying to see if he can take the lead early. Graham's going to be one of those guys that has to qualify in on speed. They're neck and neck at the line. Lisenby continues to hold the lead, but Graham's got the preferred line on the inside. And Benny Seitzer's just watching both of these guys go side by side and see if he can try to take advantage of both of them. Even if Seitzer can't get Graham right now, he can get Lisenby and get another 6 spots on the grid. Lisenby's continuing the fight on the outside line, but I think turn 1 and 2 is going to do him in as the 32 takes advantage of the lead. And Tyler Reed's been able to fight up for some spots. He's on the bottom side of 3 wide and trying to see if he can compete with some of these guys up front in the full-timer division. Reed's had a solid season going for him, but he hasn't had the best of luck lately. He's going a little bit further down in the point standings, trying to see if he can rebound in this race. A great qualifying spot could do him good. Meanwhile, we see back here Isaac Nichols trying to fight his way from the back as he is in a new truck this week. He's in the number 9 Toyota and trying to see if he can pick up some ground. He's got 6 laps to see if he can get to the front of the field, but at the moment, Brett Graham's still holding that position down. There's Dylan Farrell. We have another set of new competitors in this field this week. We'll see some of these guys continue to compete throughout the season, but they are fresh of talent and trying to see if they can make their first start and do it on the dirt. They're all driving the unsponsored number 37 Toyota this week. And he's starting to continue to slip back as he looked like he made up a little bit of ground. He started in the 9th spot, I believe. Recency is now trying to come from the rear of the field as we're down to 4 laps to go. The 69 truck finished in 2nd place at Twin Ring Motegi. Showed that he can put up some speed for Pig Sensi Racing, but he's going to have to do a little bit better in this race if he wants to get even further up. This heat race is going to determine whether or not he's going to have a good qualifying spot. Tyler Reed has now slipped into 2nd place, and he is going to have a good qualifying position at the moment, but Jesse McConna trying to see if he can beat him out. He's already passed up Benny Seitzer, who currently listed as 3rd place, but that's going to change on the leaderboard right here. 62 truck trying to see if he can get to the back end of the 12, move him out of the way and get another spot, or another 6 spots rather, on the grid. But Brett Graham still continues to hold the lead, and he's loving what he's seen. These 2 full-timers competing between each other as he's looking to pull away and get the position to get into the feature race. And it looks like the 62 is actually going to try to go to the inside of the 12. Meanwhile, Brett Graham holding down the lead. He looks like he's on his way to the next race in the feature round, and Jesse McConn's going to be able to pull off a pass on Tyler Reed in the last corner. Several spots made up by him, but Brett Graham moving on to the feature event in the Oswego 150. So Brett Graham is going to advance to his first competition of the season. Jesse McConna and Tyler Reed pull up in the next 2 spots. Justin Carr and Chris Stottlemyre were the first 2 on the outside. Benny Seitzer comes up next. Going into the race, Justin Lisenby, who started the race at the front, ends up in 8th place. Also back here, Jasper Rawls and Recency are going to be further back in the field. We've seen some of the guys that made the last race. Isaac Nichols and Derek Camel will not qualify, and neither will any of the newcomers, Evelyn Yee, Dylan Farrell, and Richard Raffi. On to heat number 3 we go. Ashlyn Boyd is going to lead this one along with Jordan Probst. Neither driver has made a start so far this season. In row number 2, 2 full-timers, Derek Anderline and Kevin Knight. In row number 3, we see Tristan Ludette and Benjamin Roberts. Roberts has made a start. He came in at Twin Ring Motegi. Josh McCoy starts off row number 4 alongside Addison Steinbeck. Mike Simpson, the Pikes Peak winner, will be in row number 5 in place number 9. Fred Bow on his outside. Current points leader and race 3 winner Clint McComb will start in place number 11. He is actually our hot seat driver of the week. We'll see his cockpit cam as well as a bumper cam, a specialty for this race only. And he starts alongside Cameron Vargo, a New York native. Ryan Parsings in place 13 alongside Luke Evans, who's made a start or 2 this season. And Zach Griffin and Steven Schaff both starting from the rear of the field. And the trucks pull up to the start-finish line. The green flag flies on heat number 3. And it looks like Ashton Boyd got a great jump on the 6 truck. Jordan Probst looked like he didn't anticipate that start, which means that now he's got Anderline to his inside, and the 26 looking to see if he can get around Boyd as well. The entire inside line starting to come now because the outside line got held up by the 6. Anderline's been pretty up and down this season as he's falling a little bit further back in the standings. Trying to see if he can take some advantage right here. side by side with the 10, looking to see who can get a heat win. And it looks like he's going to get around Ashland Boyd, who still holds the cutoff position, but Tristan Ludette would be the next one to try to take that over as he runs the inside. Now on board, Clint McComb. We see that cockpit cam that he gets as a member of the Hot Seat Club. And there is his bumper cam as well. We'll see that a few times throughout the race as the dirt comes up and hits it around, spreading a lot of mud all over, as it's a very good night to go dirt racing. He's looking at the back of Mike Simpson, trying to see if either of those two winners can get up to the front. Now Tristan Ludette on the inside of Anderline. The first two heats showed us some dominance with the driver that took the lead first, but now we're seeing a couple of lead changes right here as Ludette runs side by side with Anderline. 4 laps completed, now on lap 5. Ludette looks like he has the run. Josh McCoy trying to see where he can take an advantage. He's right on the middle line of both of these drivers, and Mike Simpson makes the cut on the 34. He gets the advantage and now going to try to see if he can take second place. Simpson making a great run here on the inside line. And immediately passes up Anderline and looks like he's got a fast truck here on the dirt. Continuing that run, that inside line, still side by side with Anderline on the outside. Ludette now has the lead. 4 laps to go in this heat. The 09 has been solid all season. Has a win so far. He's into the playoffs. Can he get another one, though, and boister his might in the first round of the playoffs? Ashland Boyd, meanwhile, has slid back quite a ways. He's about mid-pack in the field, but on the outside line, he's going to have trouble getting back up to the front in the next 3 laps. Boyd unable to make a start so far this season, and it doesn't look like today is going to be the day he gets in there. Kevin Knight now trying to see if he can pick up some spots as 5 of the 6 drivers in this field all up there in the top 6. And Kevin Knight's the only one that's not, as he's very far back in the field. Looks like his fate's going to be determined. He's going to start from the 39th spot if he holds the way he is right now. Meanwhile, Tristan Ludette trying to hold off Mike Simpson. White flag out on the heat. Simpson trying to make a move to the inside. He's got the room. The door is opened up. And they're side by side coming down the backstretch. Simpson going in deep and getting the spot, it looks like at the moment. And the 09 makes the last lap pass on Tristan Ludette and gets the heat win. Ludette will still be able to qualify for the event, but Simpson able to take home this win and get another 6 spots on the grid. Big time for the 09 truck driver. So Mike Simpson's going to start from place number 3 in the feature event, but Tristan Ludette will move on in the number 1 truck. Luke Evans was the next driver up, trying to compete for that spot, unable to take it over. Clint McComb, the next driver to get in, along with Derek Anderline and Ryan Parsons. A little bit further down the field, Josh McCoy, the other Western Motorsports driver, down there in place 9. Cameron Vargo will not make the race despite being the first practice leader. We'll see the rest of those drivers that struggled and failed to make it in, with Kevin Knight looking pretty slow right now despite having a great truck all season. So he's going to be very far back in the field when the feature starts. The first half of the heats are over, and now we move on to the second half. Diego Yepes, who made the race at Trenton and finished in the top 10. We'll start on the front of this one. Billy Thompson, the full-timer, on the outside. Jeff Cabico made the race at Twin Ring and finished very well there. He starts in place 3 alongside Carter Thiessen, who finished well in his first start at Columbia. Carter Friesen and Roger Ray, both full-timers, making up for number 3. Andrew Ross and Keyshawn Richardson, both newcomers to the league, start in row number 4. Dalton Wise, who won the last race and was the final practice leader. He starts in place number 9 alongside Christian Vargas. Andy Quinn will start in place number 11 alongside Brian McDonough. Aaron Dumati in place number 13 and Louis Usher, a newcomer, in place number 14. Vincent Stromberg in place 15 alongside Carson Clevenger, going to start last in his first competition. Pace truck off and green flag flies. Heat number 4 underway. And just like the last heat, Diego Yepes got a great run, but really quickly Jeff Cabico aggressive on the start and immediately trying to take over the spot from Yepes, and he gets it with ease. He really ran up there and got to the side of the 71, kind of forced his way out there, and Cabico takes the cutoff position, as Yepes is now going to face some pressure from the full-timers. Carter Friesen on the inside. But another driver trying to take away a heat win. Get a good qualifying spot. Yepes, though, able to fight on the outside line and slot into second place. Friesen will try to keep applying the pressure. Meanwhile, back here, Dalton Wise in a pretty precarious position. He was the fastest in the last practice, which was pretty much dominated by full-timers, and he was the winner of our last race at Trenton. A little bit of lucking into that, as Jim Fowler had some problems on pit lane, but he was able to get the victory that gets him into the playoffs as long as he stays in the top 25 in points. Roger Ray trying to work his way up into this grid, and he's currently the last among the drivers that are full-timers, and that would put him pretty far back in the field. But Dalton Wise also having the same problem. Maybe Ray can try to slot back on the inside. Carter Friesen making the move on Diego Yepes, and that's going to make it a lot easier for Cabico to advance and a lot harder for Yepes to get back up there. Andrew Ross is starting to make his way up front, but Andy Quinn is on the inside of him as the full-timers try to make their way to the front. Carter Friesen hasn't had any luck getting in the races since he made the start at Columbia. That was a 5th place run for him, and he showed that on the super speedway he can be dominant, but on all of these other track types he has not been able to show the same amount of speed. And now trying to see on the dirt track, can he get up there? But we're already halfway through this duel, or heat rather, and he is not being able to get up there, as he has pressure from the inside from Carson Clevenger. Billy Thompson, who started in place number 2, is falling back a little bit right now. Keyshawn Richardson on his inside, Louis Usher to his back. A couple part-timers trying to find their way into their first races. Thompson didn't make many friends in the Amateur Cup Series race either. He had a little bit of a problem with his car at Van Zandt and held up a few drivers. And that kind of played a little bit into the outcome of that race. Aaron Dumati now trying to fight from the rear of the field as he is starting to fall back, and a lot of red on the leaderboard as part-time drivers have overtaken the top 9, with Friesen and Quinn still holding down the fort. You can see Dumati's fighting with Dalton Wise and Roger Ray, and they're all fighting with each other for a spot on the grid. Meanwhile, Jeff Cabico up front, holding off the 2 full-timers who are side by side right now, is Andy Quinn, now 2nd place, and on the inside, looking like he's going to take the spot. That would put him 6 spots up in the grid into 10th place. But Cabico holds down the fort for this entire race, and he is going to come off turn number 4 and make his 2nd Truck Series start this season. Andy Quinn comes up short of getting the heat win. Carter Friesen gave up the spot on the last lap. So Jeff Cabico will move on. Andy Quinn will still have a top 10 starting spot in tonight's race. Carter Friesen just a little bit further back from that. Vincent Stromberg, Carson Clevenger, Diego Yepes, drivers that were not able to make their way into the race this time around. We have all the other full-timers in this heat back here in the final 6 spots. Billy Thompson was able to come out in front of Roger Ray, Dalton Wise, and Aaron Dumati. Wise a bit surprising after he showed speed in practice. He's going to be working his way up through the field throughout this entire race. Moving on now to heat number 5. Jonathan Wong is going to lead this heat alongside Taylor the Pig. No top 10s on the season, however, making 2 Amateur Cup Series starts in our break. Etienne Jones is going to start off row number 2 alongside Richard Fridge. Dylan Lexton in row 3 alongside Justin Garza. Jim Fowler, who had a hard break at Trenton, leading a lot of the race, starts in place number 7 alongside Aiden Valdez in his first competition. Robbie Bell in row number 5 alongside Tanya Breyer. And in the final 6 spots, we see Daniel Voiles alongside William Seaman. Row 7 has James Johnson, who won the modified race at White Mountain Motorsports Park, and he'll start alongside the full-timer Trevor Nix. Donnie Williams and Lucas Setz will make up the rear of the field. Here comes the next set of drivers. The green flag flies on heat number 5 from Oswego. And this time it's an absolute rocket ship start from Jonathan Wong. Fully clears Taylor the Pig before they even get to the end of the turn. But Etienne Jones is getting in there pretty quickly. The UK driver is going to see if he can make his first start of the season after not being able to make either of his previous 2 attempts. Running that inside line, doesn't have his nose to Jonathan Wong's quarter panel just yet, but he is still running that line as Wong is holding the door open for him, and it looks like Jones is going to be able to get down there and try to take the lead. Dylan Lexton waiting in the catbird seat, trying to see if he can take advantage of both of these drivers. Currently the first full-timer on the grid, as he sees Jones start to make the final move on Jonathan Wong for the lead and the cutoff position that gets you into the feature. And the 0-2 is going to clear the 33, and Lexton slots back into line with Wong. Going to play this one out patiently, but actually he has Jim Fowler on his inside, and that's going to be a spot for position. We also take a look at Daniel Voiles. He's on the inside line, had some terrible luck so far this season. A pit road flip in Columbia, just a general amount of bad luck throughout this entire year, and now trying to see what he can do in the race at Oswego. He's got the inside line on Taylor the Pig. That would be another 6 spots on the grid if he can get up there. Lucas Setz is trying to see if he can get back into another start. He made the race at Columbia. As there were only 6 part-timers, he was automatically qualified into that one, but he hasn't been able to race his way into a race this season when he has to go through the heats. So the 35 driver trying to see what he can do here today. Jim Fowler has made his way up into 2nd place, trying to see what he can do to pounce on Etienne Jones. Maintaining his ground right now, looking for a place where Jones slips up. Sliding a little bit on the dirt, that's normal for this type of racing. Robbie Bell sits just behind Fowler, as now we see Daniel Voiles trying to make the move to the inside. 36 truck showing some speed late in this one. Going to see if he can take that position, gain another 6 spots on the grid, maybe go for more if he can get around Jim Fowler or Etienne Jones. You also see James Johnson. He won the modified race at White Mountain. Can he make his way up there and get around the 0-2 truck and make his way into his first Truck Series start? He was dominant in that race. He's back on another short track. And now he's trying to make a move on Daniel Voiles to see if he can catch up with Etienne Jones and try to get the position to get into the race. That's going to make it a lot harder for Voiles to try to gain some spots on the grid. And in fact, Trevor Nix, starting to make his move on the inside, could start to take away some spots. Meanwhile, up at the front, Etienne Jones trying to see if he can win this heat and get into the next round and the feature race. And he's maintaining his pace and holding off the number 72 truck. Looks like he's going to come around and make sure that he gets into his first Truck Series start. Etienne Jones wins the heat, beats out Jim Fowler. James Johnson going to be unable to make the race. So Jones moves on, and he'll round out the top 5 in the starting order in the feature event. Jim Fowler comes in next. He'll finish up 2nd place. Donnie Williams unable to make a pounce on either Jones or James Johnson. Both will be out in this race. Daniel Voiles maintains his ground to get to 3rd among the drivers advancing in this race. Trevor Nix was able to make a pass on Robbie Bell, late for another 6 spots on the grid. Taylor the Pig and Dylan Lexton will be the last drivers on this grid advancing to the feature event. You'll see the other 4 drivers that will not be able to advance in this Oswego weekend. And now we move on to the final heat of the night to determine the final driver making it on and the final spots on the grid to settle. Emmett Juckham, the veteran from Season 1 in the NFRN, he is back in the league and he is strong on the track. He leads out this heat alongside Keith Young. In the 2nd row, we have Nick Rail and Ryan Reed. Reed in his first attempt at a race. James Smith and Stephen Carmona, row 3 on the grid. Carmona, this is his home track. Derek Northrup's also making his home track here tonight in place number 8, alongside Paul Jackson on the inside. Row 5 has full-timer Ross Kispin. Daniel McAmo will have to try to make it in on speed. Further back in the field, Hunter Cox is on the inside of row number 6 alongside Carson Mitchell. James Kinghart in his first attempt on place number 13 alongside Juan Garcia. Steve Ray going to start from the rear of the field alongside Adam Lewis, who looked very strong in the first 3 races of the season. Time to determine the final spots of the Oswego race. Green flag flies on heat number 6. Emmett Juckham getting a solid push from Nick Rail. Gonna see what those two can do. And it looks like Juckham's gonna have the position going into the end of turn 4. That's one of the first times we've seen the leader actually have the advantage as they go throughout the first lap. Nick Rail was unable to make the pounce, although he's gonna try to make the pushback right here and see if he can get the position from Juckham. And he's taking the low line, trying to see if he can find the speed. Just unable to get there so far as Keith Young slots back behind James Smith. We see from this rear view cam, that's Derek Northrup. He's from up here in New York. And he made the first 3 races of the Truck Series season as a part-timer, but he was unable to make Trenton and now starting to struggle. And he's alongside now Stephen Carmona, who's also from up here in New York. He's obviously guaranteed a spot as a result of being a full-timer. But so far, the local guys are not having much luck, as of the 3 part-time drivers from up here, none of them have made the field so far. Northrup's the last to try to make that, and he's pretty far back in the field. Adam Lewis is another driver that made the first 3 races in a row, but he is still struggling. He started last in this heat, as the speed seems to have gone away on his 05. James Smith makes the move to the inside of Nick Rail, and he takes over second spot as he now tries to chase down Emmett Juckham. Smith's made a couple of Amateur Cup Series starts this season, as he's run fairly well in the Truck Series despite not having a win yet so far. Hunter Cox now starting to chase down Smith as he's on the inside of Nick Rail in the 99. That would be a position for 3rd. Cox has been a part of the Eagle Motorsport camp, and Kenny Knox has had a lot of success up there in the Amateur Cup Series. Now we see Smith making a move to the inside of Juckham. He gets to his quarter panel, and they're side by side going into turn 3 with just 3.5 laps remaining. Smith still side by side. Turn 1 and 2 is going to be his best advantage here to try to get the spot for good and maybe clear the 80. And so far, it looks like he's got it. Juckham's still just a little bit right there, but this turn right here is going to solidify that spot for him, as now Hunter Cox is going to try to chase down Juckham. Steve Ray's also entering this conversation as he is on the inside of Nick Rail. All of the part-timers so far all of these heats have finished either first or second. But now Hunter Cox is trying to challenge Juckham for that second spot, which would put Juckham at a further back position if he's able to qualify, but that's if he does qualify because he's got competition from the back. White flag is out. James Smith holding down the field right now. We're paying attention to Juckham to try to make sure he gets into this race as Hunter Cox does make the move to the inside. He's got the second spot. James Smith's going to come around and win. Cox just beats out Juckham for the spot, but Juckham is going to make the race. He's just going to be a little bit further back in the grid this time around. But the veteran driver, we are going to see him back in the NFRN as he qualifies for this Oswego race. So the results are in. James Smith going to start from the 6th spot in the grid today. Hunter Cox is going to come in just behind him, and Emmett Juckham will advance to his first race since leaving the league at the end of last season. James Kinghart was the first driver out. Nick Rail tried to make a competition for that as well. Adam Lewis and Derek Northrup continue now on a missing out streak, you would say. Steve Ray also came up here and finished in the top 5. Keith Young slides from 2nd to 8th in this heat. Further back, Ross Kispin is back there in 12th place, and Stephen Carmona on his hometown track. He's going to start from the 42nd position. We are going to head to a quick commercial break before we get into the feature event. We will see you shortly.
trumpets do. I steer, not stir. Apple brown Betty, think I dated her. I can't barbecue as good as this guy, but the recipe for winning easy as pie. Need just a pinch of fight, fill it to the gills, and throw another piece of tape on the grill. Never know how. Never know how.
As we get ready for our feature event tonight, this is a great opportunity to remind everyone that part-time Truck Series signups are still and always open. This is to attempt qualifying for NFRN Truck and Open Modified Series races. That is the only opportunity to get into the league at the moment, so this is your opportunity to get there. If you don't have a ride in the NFRN at the moment, you can keep signing up until a couple days after our next Elite Cup Series race, not the one that's taking place tonight. So the field is now lined up and ready to get going on this 45-lapper on the dirt. Take a look at our hot seat winner and officially note where he's been running. Clint McComb, he's had a pretty solid season so far. He's got a win at Twin Ring Motegi and a top 5 at Trenton. Columbia had a solid finish, and Pikes Peak, not so great for him, but he is still on top of the points chart at the moment, and that is going to be our first hot seat winner in the Truck Series. We'll see from his cockpit cam and bumper cam throughout the night to see how he gets to navigate the dirt. So now we'll send you trackside to get the official command to start the engines for tonight's event.
Race fans, we have one more thing to do before we get ready to rock and roll, and to bring you the command, we've got the charismatic, the colorful, the prolific Mr. Jack Hewitt.
Gentlemen, drivers, start your engine.
It's time to get a little mud on the tires. Time to take a look at how the starting grid's going to look like for this inaugural race on the dirt for the NFRN Truck Series. We start off with Richard Morris, who won the first heat of the night. He finished 12th at Twin Ring in that number 51 Aris Toyota. He starts alongside Brett Graham in the number 32 Great Clips Chevrolet. This is his first career start. He won heat number 2. In row number 2, we have Mike Simpson, the Pikes Peak winner, and also the Heat 3 winner. He starts on the inside of Jeff Cabico, who finished 4th at Twin Ring and won the 4th heat. In row number 3, we have Etienne Jones in his first career start, the winner of Heat 5, and James Smith, looking for his second top 10 of the season. He starts in place 6, the winner of our 6th heat. In row number 4, we have Jason Langley, who finished runner-up at Trenton, and Jesse McConna, a best finish of 4th so far this season. In row number 5, Tristan Ludette makes his first career start, starting alongside Andy Quinn, currently 33rd in points, rounding out the top 10. In row number 6, Jim Fowler, who had that Trenton heartbreak, looking to make a comeback tonight, alongside Hunter Cox, who started the season with 2 top 10s, looking for a 3rd. In row number 7, the Columbia winner, Barry Watson, starts alongside Tyler Reed, who had led the point standings before going into Trenton. In row number 8, the guy who took it over from him, Clint McComb, the current points leader and the winner at Twin Ring, starts in place 15, alongside Carter Friesen, 2 top 10s on the season. Daniel Boyles finished 16th at Trenton, and he's trending upward in his results. He starts on the inside of row 9 alongside Emmett Juckham, his first start since he ended off last season in the Elite Cup Series. And in row number 10, Emerson Sims, last in points among full-timers. Looking to gain some ground, Benny Seitzer finished 3rd at Trenton. He rounds out the top 20. You'll see the rest of the starting order go by here, as they were determined in the heat races earlier on. Everyone vying to be the first driver to ever win on the dirt in the NFRN up here at Oswego Speedway in northern New York. A lot of interesting things to watch out for here. Who's going to be able to take the preferred line, get to the front? Who's going to be able to protect the line? Who is going to be best accustomed to this type of race surface? We have all a bunch of unknowns right here, because this is an all-new experience for a lot of these guys who have grown up on pavement. But there is definitely drivers that can go out here and take a victory today and lock themselves into the playoffs. The trucks come off turn number 4. The flagman has the green flag in hand, and he waves it to launch off the Oswego 150. Morris got the good jump. Etienne Jones into the back of Mike Simpson on lap number 2, but Simpson is on the inside of Richard Morris, still trying to look for the spot. The 09 now trying to take advantage of the part-timer. Looking for his second win of the season. Mike Simpson going to get to the inside here and just about clears the 51 of Richard Morris. Still has a little bit of work left to go, as we have a lot of part-timers up here. 4 of the top 5 at the moment, but Simpson has the point. Jeff Cabico was one of those drivers that is not in the top 5 right now, as he's slipping back on the outside line. And McJuckman's going to be the other part-timer that's struggling right now, and he had a bad starting spot, at least compared to the rest of the part-timers, because he finished 3rd in his heat race. James Smith was the winner of the 6th heat race, and he's behind Cabico and trying to make up as much ground as he can. That outside line is definitely not the preferred line, and they're going to be struggling all throughout the night trying to get down to the inside, looking for all of the gaps that other drivers provide. Meanwhile, the New York drivers back here, Adam Kuhn and Stephen Carmona, both in the back 4 positions of the race right now. They're going to have some work to do, but they still have another 40 laps to go. And Adam Kuhn needs some major redemption after finishing last place at Trenton with contact on pit lane. He had a really rough going in that race, and now 40th position at the moment. He is going to have to pick up some points. He finished 2nd place at Columbia, and he was so close to earning the playoff berth early, and now he's having to fight his way up. Really bad circumstances for the driver of the 19 as he continues to work throughout the season. Also a little bit further back here is Recency. He had that great run at Twin Ring Motegi, but he has not been able to put up performances in the other races either. Now we look back at the front of the field, and it's sort of settled out as Mike Simpson holding down the lead with Etienne Jones in his first career Truck Series start. On the back end of the 09 truck, Tristan Ludette coming up in 3rd place, and now we have 2 full-timers that have also made their way into the top 5, as now Jones makes a move to the inside coming off of turn number 2, gets the momentum and trying to make a move on Mike Simpson. And looks like he's going to get the lead now. Jones has made a little bit of contact with Simpson going into turn 3 on lap number 2, and now making the aggressive move to get to the inside here. As mentioned, this is his first Truck Series start. He tried to attempt the last 2 races, made neither of them, and now is able to get his opportunity here on the dirt. Jim Fowler is coming up here and trying to take the advantage with Mike Simpson on the outside, although it looks like he's going to slot in right now behind Jones. Fowler led so many laps at Trenton. Looked like he was on pace to win that race, and here is his result: 14th place after leading 18 laps of the 27-lap race. And then the pit stop went very slow for him, that he was not able to hold that position. Now he's trying to fight his way back into contention, currently running the top 3. We're looking on the bumper cam of Clint Combe. We saw his cockpit cam earlier on. Back on his bumper as he works his way through toward the top 5. Currently watching the battle for 4th place with Tristan Ludette and Daniel Voiles. Voiles is looking for some good runs to come his way, and he's doing a solid job at putting that up right now. He's currently 37th in points, though, and he's having a very struggling season. But a great finish here today can start something good in the back half of this regular season. Only 3 races left after this one to find your way into the playoffs. Not sure if he's going to be able to do it on points, but maybe go for a victory and see if he can get himself into the top 25 in points. Also coming in just behind him is Jason Langley, who finished runner-up to Dalton Wise at Trenton last race. That's his season best, however. And now he's up here in 6th place, and he's made a move on Tristan Ludette to move into 5th. He could be on his way to back-to-back top 5s if he's able to hold down this position, and looking like he has a lot of speed to do it. We're now riding on board Dalton Wise, and as this leaderboard cycles through, you'll see that he is back here in 40th position. He's not having a good day so far, but he's fortunate enough that he had the luck on his side to grab the victory last race. Now he doesn't really have to worry about it as long as he can still run with some decent positioning. Obviously, you don't want to be outside the top 25 at the end of the regular season. Looking like he's safe at the moment, but don't want to put yourself in a precarious position. Etienne Jones has the lead over Jim Fowler now, who has taken second place from Mike Simpson. We are going to head to a quick commercial break. We'll be back for the rest of the race after this.
I was thrilled when Ken Butler asked me to drive the Aaron's Dream Machine with Michael Waltrip because Aaron's is great. They offer a flexible alternative to credit with no long-term commitment. And clean, well-organized stores, too. I like when things are clean. But then there's Michael. Always childish and not very clean. He's actually a little bit piggish. He's a mess. His car's so dirty, even dogs won't chase him. Yep, Michael beats all. But nobody beats Aaron.
Etienne Jones having the kind of race that you want in your first career start, leading the way against two full-timers and trying to put up a victory in your first competition. That's the way it's going for the O2 driver right now as he leads Pikes Peak winner Mike Simpson as well as Jim Fowler. Daniel Boyles and Jason Langley rounding out the top five just a little bit further behind this lead pack. Here's a little update on our New York drivers, Adam Kuhn and Stephen Carmona, as they are currently struggling to get up toward the front. Kuhn is back there in last place at the moment. Carmona has made his way up to 28th place, but still on the outside line now as he's going to lose a few more spots unless he can get to the inside line. Carmona's been a very mediocre season for the 54 team as they haven't found any top 10 so far. And how about this driver? We didn't talk a lot about Emmett Juckham in the heat race, minus the fact that he was able to move on from the heat and get into the feature, but this is his first competition since he left the NFRN back in Season 1 after Hula Hoop. He finished 41st in points, obviously not a great season, but to see him come back finally after several races into the year and get into his first attempt in a truck, he has very low expectations based on how he finished in the first season of the NFRN, but great to see him back and make his first attempt in a race truck. Going to see where he's able to end up. Right now he was back there pretty far in the field, but he's going to see what he can do. We saw from the front of Barry Watson. He's trying to make up some ground. He's currently running top 10, as well as Taylor the Pig, who had made 2 Amateur Cup Series starts within the past 2 races at Pig Speed Dome and Van Zandt. He had a best finish of 6th at the Speed Dome. And this is all coming without a top 10 in this series so far, so he's still trying to contend to get into the playoffs, either on a win or on points. But he has not been able to put up a great result. He could be on his pace, though, for his first top 10 of the season, if he's able to keep up where he is right now. Derek Anderline's also up here, and he's had an up and down season so far. He was able to get runner-up at Pikes Peak, had an absolute awful finish at Twin Ring Motegi, but then came back with a top 15 at Trenton. He's trying to see if he can slot into a good finish or even a great finish today, which would put him a little higher in standings than he is right now. Ryan Parsings running a little bit further back here. He's kind of fallen off the grid as a bunch of bad luck has come onto him, and he is trying to make a push toward this front pack, which is kind of in the top 15 range right now. Now we see Essentia is making a move to the inside of Moses Osborne, who had been a competitor in one of our heat races. Essentia didn't have a great run, but now he's making up some positions on the track. He had a 6th place run at Trenton, which was his season best, now currently running 7th. And this could be a great opportunity for him to make up some points as well, as he's a bit far back in the point standings. Obviously, when that's your season best finish, you weren't having some great runs the races before. Now we see Mike Simpson making a move toward Etienne Jones. 29 laps into this race, Simpson trying to go back to the lead. Jones had been holding that down for a while now, but now Simpson wants to take it back from him. They're side by side at the line, but Simpson had the nose at the start-finish line, and he's going to slot into position now. The 09 team trying to make it 2 races this season. There's only one driver that's won 2 races within the same series this year, and that's Chris Harley in the Amateur Cup Series. Simpson looking to try to be the next to do it. Now we go to the opposite side of the field, and that's Tyler Reed back there in last place, and that's not good for him. He was having a great season so far. Had led the point standings at one point. But now he's really trying to find his way around the dirt. He's not even trying to incorporate the lower line, which would help him get some positions, but following Emmett Juckham, trying to see what he can do to get up there. Josh McCoy having a similar problem. He's been up there in the top 10 in points for a good portion of this first 4 race stretch. But currently far back there in the field, he's going to have a struggle to get back in a competitive mode. And now we see Jim Fowler trying to make a move on Jones. Try to get to the inside, didn't quite get there yet, but another opportunity here in turns 1 and 2, and now he's door-to-door with the 02 truck. Fowler missed out on a victory last race, and now he's trying to hunt down Mike Simpson. Fowler still door-to-door with Etienne Jones. Now second place on the board, and should clear them right here, and Dalton Wise goes around. And that's on the front stretch. A bunch of drivers roll up. Tyler Reed gets held up completely. He has to come to a complete stop, and they both start to roll again. As we mentioned before, there's no cautions in this race. Just the nature of the dirt. And it looks like Wise got some help from Kevin Knight right there. And that's the first accident we've seen in race conditions so far this weekend. There have been some problems in practice. Just drivers trying to figure out their way around the track, but this is the first time we've seen a driver get turned in the middle of a race. And Emerson Sims hit the 77 a little bit, and obviously the 12 stopped completely. Now we see Derek Anderline making a move to the inside of Jones. The 02 truck was in the lead just a matter of 10 laps ago, and now he's all the way back to 4th as drivers continue to pick him off. All of them full-timers at the moment. Although looking at the leaderboard, it looks like Jones is the only part-timer even in this top 9 at the moment. Looking at Clint McComb as he's wheeling the race truck around, and they're getting close to pit stops. They're gonna have to stop before this race concludes. So it's a matter of when's it gonna happen, because they only have 7 more laps left in this race, but they are not on the fuel to make it. I don't know if you can really stretch it out without losing a lap here or losing a bunch of time. We see Etienne Jones is going to be the first one to take his service. And he's pretty... Oh, we got a trouble back here. That's Barry Watson in the wall. And he comes down and clips Carter Friesen as he slams into the inside wall, trying to make the move to the pit lane. And he didn't make it. And now he's going to have to go around again. A huge mental mistake by Watson. But who knows what happened to get him turned around in the first place. Simpson now comes down. He'll relinquish the lead. Jim Fowler stays out on the racetrack. We have some drama late in this race. Pit stops becoming an issue for some drivers. We see the pole sitter, Morris, came in a lap ago. Now Jim Fowler comes down. Jason Langley will follow. We're going to see who's going to be the one that gets out in front. No one's taking tires. Everyone's just going in for gas. That's all they need. Tires are not a huge problem on this dirt. And there's a 4-wide situation. 5-wide, actually. Very tight quarters here on the front stretch. Benny Seitzer gets away from that one. I believe that's Steven Carmona. Well, there's contact there. And now Jim Fowler comes out on this one. He's on the inside of this whole ordeal right now. The 72 trying to get away from it as he's trying to see if he can start to lead this one. Fowler pulls away from this pack right here and trying to get around some of the drivers pulling up. Here comes Daniel Vos, and he gets turned by Richard Morris. Takes a 360. He's facing the right direction again, but a huge opportunity missed for the 36 truck. Don't know if he was going to have the ability to beat Fowler back to the line, but he had an opportunity for a great finish. He's now scored as 5th place. as it looks like Emerson Sims and Benny Seitzer, Etienne Jones all beat him to the line. Now Fowler's all alone out in front. He's going to see the white flag right here. So many laps led at Trenton Fairgrounds Raceway. He had an opportunity to win the race and take home a playoff spot. That opportunity disappeared on pit lane. Today, it looks like pit stops are going to be the benefactor for him. Jim Fowler gets his redemption, and he's going to shake the checkered flag here at Oswego. Big time victory for the driver of the 72 truck, as now he's gotten the victory he was looking for. And it looks like Benny Seitzer stopped there on the racetrack. He might be out of fuel, and so might be Emerson Sims. As you can see, they were not going to be able to stretch it to the end. But Jim Fowler's going to be able to find his way to victory lane here today in a big-time victory for that team. Now let's go back and recap this final 5 lap stretches. There was a lot going on behind the scenes. This is Watson's accident. He gets contact from Jeff Capico, hits the inside wall, slides back up the racetrack in front of the 53. That's Ross Kispin. This contact actually takes Kispin out of the race. He's going to finish last today. So now Watson goes up toward the wall, and he's going to hit it hard. He's going to actually get his back tires off the ground. Billy Thompson runs into him. And then Watson's going to make a very ill-advised move to try to get to pit lane, cross the entire lane of traffic, thinking probably that everyone slowed down behind him. He runs directly into Carter Friesen, and that takes the 92 for a spin. And then Watson completely misjudges his ability to get down there and hits the inside wall. Good for him that he has the victory to fall back on, because that wasn't good for him. And McCoy actually ran into Friesen, gave him a heavy hit. Here's the onboard view. There's the contact, and there was his inside wall hit, and you can see that 38 goes for a slide. He just cannot control once that contact gets made. And he thinks that the hole's there, and he might have actually been able to make it if the 92 wasn't there, but he obviously did run into him, and that's just a very ill-advised move. Looks like Derek Anderline had a problem. When he was having a great run, he actually slid into the inside wall and then lost control of his truck, that he missed pit lane entirely. And then his truck actually stalls on the inside line for a good amount of seconds before he's able to refire it. And that's a huge loss for the 26 truck. And then here's a traffic jam, as a lot of drivers unable to determine who's going where. Justin Lisenby runs directly into the side of the dirty truck, as drivers are just very undetermined on who's actually going to pit and who's not. 31 turns to 30. And Steve Ray actually gives a good shot to Emmett Juckham in the back. Andy Quinn might have also run into the 27 of Robbie Bell right there. And that creates just a complete logjam right here. Dalton Wise tries to go low to miss it. Then here's Jason Langley, and he gets hit from behind by Essentia, which actually gives the 14 some decent damage. And Taylor the Pig he actually runs into the 92 truck, who is merging off of pit lane, and spins the 25 truck. So 2 separate spins right there. Langley getting turned by a driver that was coming off pit lane, and the 25 actually running into the 92. This is his angle from that. Or excuse me, Langley was actually coming off pit lane and got turned by Essentia, who might have been coming down to merge onto pit lane. But the 25 truck's going to lose a few positions there. And then something else here, and this is Voiles. Voiles was getting ready to come out in maybe second or third place. Actually, I think Sims and Seitzer were in the contention spots, but they had not pitted yet. So they were going to have problems with that. And so Voiles was about prepared to come out in second place, but he is not going to finish there, as the contact from Richard Morris takes him for a spin and gives Fowler an easy victory here. And so this is actually Sims and Seitzer coming down here, and they're both going to lose control. I don't even know how that happened, because they didn't hit the inside wall, but they definitely hit it there. Just an absolute loss of grip as they get onto the merge to pit lane. But they both pull away, and they end up running out of gas because there's the white flag. And so at this point, it looks like they're out. And he's going to get some contact. Seitzer's going to get some contact from James Smith. And he's going to crunch his hood in. I'm not sure if they've even taken the checkers at this point. They might still be racing back to the line. And then the 26 plows into the 83, and he actually sends it for a flip. Seitzer going for a flip here at Oswego. And the 26 with heavy damage on his front end. But the 83 does end up on all fours, and that's how he looks like he was able to pull away. As I think at this point the race might be over. And that's how we see those two drivers limp back to pit lane. Well, that was quite an exciting end to our first dirt race in the NFRN, but in the end, Jim Fowler able to take pit stops and turn it into a positive. As he passes up Mike Simpson somehow, who ends up in 6th place and gets the victory. Etienne Jones, the first to come down pit lane, ends up in 2nd place. A great debut run for him. And Daniel Voiles actually didn't lose that much position. He ends up in 3rd place anyway, despite the spin. Clint McComb, currently the points leader, finished 4th place. And Jason Langley, he took a spin too, and he finished 5th. A couple of drivers right there that had problems still getting top 5s. Elsewhere in the top 10, we had Ryan Parsings come home 7th place. A good comeback run. Tristan Ludet and Jeff Cavaco, a couple of part-timers coming home with top 10s. And Moses Osborne, who had one of the fastest trucks this weekend, comes home in 10th. James Smith was able to bring it home in 12th place despite smashing into the back of Seitzer there at the end. Stephen Carmona able to make a little bit of a comeback and finish 17th place in his home track. The other New York driver, Adam Kuhn, ends up in 22nd place. He's the last driver on the lead lap. Emerson Sims and Benny Seitz are going to be marked a lap down, unable to make it to the finish line at the end of that one, running out of gas, obviously. Emmett Juckham, 25th in his first start back since the last race of Season 1 in the Elite Cup Series. Dalton Wise finishes 27th after his earlier spin. You can see that the problems that plagued some of the drivers in the late going really had an impact on finishing result. Barry Watson ends up in 35th place. Derek Anderline in 36th after he was having a great run going for him up there in the top 5. And in the final 2 spots, we see Justin Lisenby 3 laps down with his problems, and Ross Kispin DNFs after taking the contact from Barry Watson. So here's how the point standings shake out after this race at Oswego. Clint McComb maintains the point lead and has a little bit more of a gap over Mike Simpson, as now the points have really kind of spread out a lot more than they have earlier this year. Hunter Cox, Jesse McConnell, and Kevin Knight all vying for an open spot if it does open up. At the moment, though, that is not a possibility. No one's won twice or fallen out of the top 25, or we haven't seen a part-timer win. They're going to be waiting for that opportunity, but they're going to have to go for a win first. Dalton Wise still up there in 6th place despite his troubling day. Jim Fowler, the new winner, up here in 9th. Barry Watson continuing to struggle, and despite making 6 of the 7 Amateur Cup Series races so far this season, he's almost about to fall out of the contention spot to even start or attempt a race, as he's 14th on the standing board. Taylor the Pig was top 14 in the standings going into this race, and a terrible finish today puts him all the way back to 22nd. Daniel Voiles, though, he had a great jump up. He started this race in 37th in points. He's all the way up to 26th. We see the back part of these standings. Justin Lisenby, a terrible finish today, puts him to the last place on the full-timer list and just 1 point ahead of the best full-timer, Jeff Cavaco, who's only made 2 starts this season. Here is how the chase grid looks after this one. Obviously, Jim Fowler now puts his name in gold. No open spots yet. Hunter Cox, Jesse McConnell, and Kevin Knight just barely above that cut line, but that line is definitely going to shift as more and more drivers look to win races, and this is going to put everyone that hasn't won so far in a precarious position. There's just so limited races to grab a victory that it's going to come down to some pretty intense competition, but that's what makes this format so fun. And with Clint McComb leading the driver standings, he's going to help Ramco Motorsports lead the team standings as well. 33 points over Eagle Motorsport with Hunter Cox, and 37 points over Thunderhawk Motorsports with James Smith. And here are the numbers that some of the top Truck Series drivers will be running in the Amateur Cup Series race at Bump Drafton. A lot of consistency here on drivers, but a few new names. We've got Jim Fowler up here in the top 10. He's going to be piloting in number 89, trying to qualify for his first Amateur Cup Series race. Jasper Rawls in the 85, Jason Langley in the number 8. Both those guys now in the top 14. Barry Watson just barely hanging on to a spot to try to qualify. He's going to be working from the back of the field to try to make his way in. So for the first time ever, the Truck Series came and conquered the dirt, and Jim Fowler was the one that came out as a king. He has got a spot in the playoffs, and just 3 races remain to find a spot in. For NFRN and RVN, my name is Colin Denton, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's race. The next Truck Series broadcast will be at Zen Joltis along with the Elite Cup Series, but the next race we have coming up, the Amateur Cup Series and Elite Cup Series at Bump Drafton.